Republican Senator Marsha Blackburn of the great state of Tennessee is in focus now. These are such serious issues. We need to hear from the top people. Why aren't they talking?
It is astounding that they have had nothing to say, Harris, and indeed the president should give an Oval Office address to the people of this country and tell everyone what they know. We have had our briefings, our classified briefings, but they are not satisfactory. And what we're hearing is things that we say the American people need to hear this. You need to speak up. They need to know about the Chinese spy balloon. They need to know how many balloons have been spotted coming over this country in the last 5 years. They need to answer the question of why it took a reporter in Montana putting it on the newspaper website for the administration to have anything to say. And these other items that were shot down last week, why did they choose to shoot them down, and what do they know about them, and what have either we or the Canadians been able to gather from wreckage?
All great questions. And when you said moments ago, the Senate hearings have not been satisfactory, I'm going to take it that none of those questions were even approached.
You are correct. We did not get answers on any of those questions. And the fact that this balloon hovered in Montana and then kind of did a little sashay across the country in defiance of our sovereign airspace and then going out over the Atlantic Ocean. Why is it that they said, well, we chose to wait till it got out to the Atlantic? Did they know it was going to the Atlantic, not to the Gulf? Not back to the Pacific? There are so many questions that we have, and it is imperative that the president find his voice and get some facts and start talking to the American people.
Well, earlier this week, White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre stumbled quite a bit when asked about one of those recent takedowns. Watch this.
Curious question, though. Why is the American military shooting something out of the sky over Canada?
Because it's part of NORAD. There is the NORAD is part of like it's a what you call a coalition, a consortium,
a pact of nations.
A pact, exactly. And so that's why we were able to do that. Again, we didn't do it on our own. We did it clearly in step with Canada.
No, really. That's the White House.
Yes. And, you know, it is just so insulting to the American people who are watching this. They know the Chinese Communist Party is our greatest threat. You look at what they are doing, what they did with COVID, what they are doing with fentanyl, and Joe Biden ought to go tell them, stop producing fentanyl today. It is killing our people. Stop it. But he doesn't do it. You look at what they're doing with the spy balloons. You look at what they're doing with TikTok and how they're surveilling our people and our children. You look at what is happening to our kids. Fentanyl is the largest killer of kids 18 to 45 years old.
Let's get into it.
Yeah.
Definitely. A Texas sheriff shared an incredible detail at a congressional hearing on Biden's border crisis yesterday. He told lawmakers nearly 2,000 drones used by Mexican drug cartels are here, swarming United States skies. Now, that's interesting since they've been shooting stuff down. We're seeing a shift now, politically, with growing bipartisan calls to tackle the flood of fentanyl that Senator Blackburn is detailing now. It's coming across our southern border. The border is open. We all know it. Gaps as wide as miles. Leadership at the National Drug Control Policy Center say it's the worst drug crisis we've ever seen. Lawmakers at a hearing with this reaction.
I have to be honest with you, if the good overtures to try to get them to act is not working, then there has to be other considerations. I just think that we work with our Mexican friends with kid gloves on this issue. I don't know how many more lives have to be lost for Mexico to get engaged.
Fentanyl, as I think we all agree, robs children of their parents and parents of their children. They rob communities of our friends, co-workers, and neighbors. The Mexican cartels have taken advantage of the weak border enforcement.
You've been there. You're on this issue on the Hill. What can you add?
Yes, and I have legislation right now, Harris, that would stop these drug and sex traffickers from getting federal benefits after they're arrested. What we have learned from many of these law enforcement officers in Border Patrol is that people live in government housing, they get welfare benefits, and then their side hustle is trafficking in drugs and people. So when they're arrested, it would stop their benefits immediately. They could not live in government housing. They couldn't get welfare or unemployment benefits. It would all stop immediately. We have to do that to send the message we're not going to let them do this, because 70,000 Americans lost their lives to fentanyl poisoning last year. As I said, #1 killer of 18 to 45-year-olds. And then you have children, babies that are dying from fentanyl poisoning. Fox News has an article up about it right now. And Harris, the fact that these cartels are getting rich, they're getting rich off of what they're doing to the American people and to the people that are coming here illegally. They're buying the lie. This administration has to secure the border. And you mentioned the drones. When I was down at Del Rio sector, they were talking about the cartel has better technology than local law enforcement and the Border Patrol, and they're surveilling them. They're surveilling all across the border, all of these border towns. They're surveilling and finding pathways to get these criminal, illegal aliens into the country. These drug traffickers, Chinese entering the country, up 700%, and they are probably here to surveil and to spy.
Well, we see it. We see it all, not to mention the fact that's where it's coming from, you know, particularly from China, north of 95% of fentanyl, as we know. Senator Blackburn, when you come back the next time, let's get into that legislation, see where it goes. I don't think many of us know the dollar amounts that are being spent, and I really want to get into it. By the way, the original crime was coming here illegally. Can't we act on that too? Good to see you. Thank you.
You too. Thank you.